Happy New Year! I cannot believe that it is 2021, but here we are, and I hope you guys all had a good holiday break. A few months ago, you may remember that we unveiled the limited edition Technics 1210GAE turntable. And in that video, I raved about that particular turntable, how much I loved its build quality, its sound quality. I just loved it. What I didn't love about it was its price tag and the fact that because it's a limited edition turntable, it was sold out within about a week of that video going live. So when I came across today's little gem, I knew it was going to be our next turntable review because it bears more than a striking resemblance to some of Technics', well, more iconic designs. So the question for me was, how good is it really? You know, it being a budget turntable, but more importantly, how good could it get? So that's the question we're going to answer today. So go ahead, hit that like button and subscribe because we are reviewing Audio-Technica's LP140XP turntable. Let's get some of the technical bits out of the way, shall we? The 140XP is a direct drive turntable. Direct drive means that you're not going to fuss with belts in order to spin the platter. Instead, it uses a motor mechanism that rests below the aluminum platter and spins it directly, hence the term direct drive. Now, platter speed is controlled electronically. You have your choice of 33 1/3, 45, and even 78. This means that the Audio-Technica is capable of playing virtually any type of album at every speed. It also has pitch control, quartz lock, and reverse play functionality. Now, it has an S-shaped tone arm, something you may be familiar with from, say, Technics designs, and has a removable head shell. Now, the removable head shell comes pre-fitted with the XP3 cartridge from Audio-Technica. This is more of a DJ-centric cartridge, but it does come fitted from the factory. What it doesn't have, however, is a built-in phono preamp. So you're going to want to make sure that your preamp, your receiver, your integrated amplifier, or your powered loudspeakers have a capable moving magnet phono preamp if you plan on listening to records with this particular Audio-Technica turntable. When I said the LP140XP is more than a little reminiscent of Technics 1210GAE, I meant it. Step back a couple of feet and look past the gold trim. The two are dead ringers for each other. In fact, the 140XP is, well, it looks the same as virtually any SL branded turntable from Technics. Now get up close and personal, you're not so much going to see a difference as you are going to feel it. The Audio-Technica just isn't made from the same quality materials that Technics uses on their costlier turntables. Instead, Audio-Technica relies pretty heavily on plastics, but that doesn't mean that it feels cheap, because it doesn't. It's just we have to manage our expectations when looking at a budget turntable such as this. The S-shaped tone arm found on the 140XP feels very similar to that of the Technics. It features all of the same functionality and adjustability, and its removable head shell even can accept the same types of cartridges as the costlier Technics. Speaking of cartridges, the included cartridge from Audio-Technica is solid. Actually, it's very surprising given the budget nature of this turntable. It's a very punchy sounding cartridge. It has good low end weight and some dynamics, though I'm not going to say that it's lightning quick or the firmest down low. The mid-range is more full-bodied, the high frequencies are smooth, but neither are as delineated or as articulate as what you're going to find through costlier cartridges. The cartridge on a whole does have a warmer tone to it top to bottom, and I like this. And in terms of detail retrieval, it's more of broad strokes land, if you will, versus really getting down into the grooves and extracting every last ounce of information. But this means that the cartridge pairs very well with a wide range of musical genres, including albums that may not be mixed all that well. So if you are new to vinyl, if this is maybe your first turntable, I would recommend that you actually stick with the included cartridge because it is a good, solid all-rounder, but more importantly, it will allow you to appreciate a better cartridge should you decide to upgrade down the road. While this is not a cartridge review, one of my goals with this particular video was to see how close I could get the XP140's performance to match that of the 1210GAE. To do this, I used the same three cartridges we had in the 1210GAE video. and those were the 2M red, 2M blue, and 2M black cartridges from ORTOFON. All three of these cartridges were mounted on the same removable head shell, all of which I will link to down in the description below if you want to check those out for yourself. I started with the more affordable 2M red cartridge. Now, the more I listen to this cartridge, the more I fall out of love with it. It's not a bad cartridge. It's clearly a step up from the included cartridge that comes with the Audio-Technica. It just, while it has detail, it just lacks some character. So I actually found myself preferring the rounder, column, mushier tones of the Audio-Technica over that of the hyper detail, sterile, and more neutral sound of the 2M red. I will admit, when I first heard a 2M red some time ago, I welcomed its added detail, but as time has gone on, I don't know, there's just something about it. I miss a little bit of character, and it lacks that for me. So if you are one that likes a little bit more neutrality, you don't like any emphasis placed on any one aspect of the frequency range, then by all means, the 2M red may be for you. But for me, it's just not my cup of tea. Stepping things up to the 2M blue, this is where you can expect to hear some of that higher end vinyl playback quality that audiophiles gush over. Everything I dislike about the 2M red has been addressed and fixed with the 2M blue. And it even adds a bit of weight, some better definition, and greater separation throughout its soundstage. So if you have it in your budget to stretch it for the blue, I say skip the red, go with the blue, call it a day. With a total investment of less than $700, this combination is high-end sounding enough for the vast majority of people. But when I step things up and put on the 2M black, the promise of the 140XP comes into focus. Now let's not beat around the bush. Adding the black cartridge raises the price of this combo to $1,150. And I am not about to tell you that that is budget or affordable, but it does turn a budget-friendly turntable into a high-end competitor. This combination manages to sound every bit as good as the $4,000 1210GAE when fitted with the exact same cartridge, a cartridge which isn't even included in the price. And when connected to the Technics G30's internal phono preamp and listening to Michael Jackson's Dangerous, any differences in sound quality were likely down to the speakers we used and not the turntables themselves. About the only thing that I would say that the Technics turntables do better than the Audio-Technica is they just seem a little bit more firm and a little bit more defined down low and have just a slightly better separation in the soundstage. And I think this is down to the materials that they use, as they're just a little bit heavier, they do a little bit better job controlling those resonances, but I really think that the vast majority of people aren't going to hear these differences in real world scenarios because I have to really, I'm talking really, listen for them in our day-to-day listening tests. Now, if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, Andrew, I don't have a Technics G30 just lying around, understand that you will hear the differences in other components like, say, a Musical Fidelity M3 SI or M5 SI, and the black cartridge is even good enough to resolve differences in budget gear like the Sony DH190. Now, obviously, higher-end components are probably going to have higher-end built-in phono preamps, but you are still going to get your money's worth from an upgrade like the 2M Black on entry-level gear. Now, when I say it may have come down to the speakers and not the turntables in terms of differences, what I'm talking about is just the simple fact that a pair of KEF LS50 Metas just sound different than, say, Klipsch Heresy Mark IVs. So for those of you who may be sitting there thinking, I have gone crazy trying to elevate a $399 turntable to that of the Technics, here's what's crazier. The fact that we are, in fact, talking about a $399 turntable made largely from plastic in an $800 cartridge matching the performance of a $4,000+ turntable. That's incredible. And when you consider that the Audio-Technica has largely the same functionality and feature set as the costlier Technics, well, it turns a budget turntable into a value giant. And by saving money on the Audio-Technica, it leaves room potentially for you to buy a better cartridge like the 2M Black, not to mention a better phono preamp. Two things a lot of audiophiles will tell you make the biggest difference in vinyl playback quality. Bringing it back to the 140XP and 2M Black, this is just analog done right. I can't say enough good things about this combination. From its ease of use to its sound quality, there's not much more to say. The bass is deep and firm, and the textures that the 2M Black extracts from the low notes allow for instruments like kick drums to sound very organic and live as opposed to recorded. And the same is true of mids, the mid-range, the vocals. They're very clear, very clean, intelligible, but there is just this hint of warmth to them that it doesn't change the tone of an artist's voice, but it does lend a bit more presence, that in-room quality that, well, I just love. High frequencies are airy and extended, very natural sounding, and they have body to them. And it's that body that, well, cuts down on harsh sibilance, the type of sibilance that you may experience through the 2M Red and even the 2M Blue with some recordings. But what I love the most about the 2M Black is how it absolutely nails dynamics, not to mention has better separation between instruments or performers in the soundstage itself. In fact, with the right albums, the 2M Black, albeit analog, sounds very digital-like in many ways. And so in a weird way, it's kind of like being able to have the best of both worlds. I'm not saying that it makes albums sound digital. It doesn't. It just has the type of clarity that you may associate with digital while retaining that little bit of warmth, that certain something that analog playback just offers. Comparing it to another favorite, the 140XP competes very favorably with the Fluence RT85. Now the Fluence is more expensive, but it does come with the ORTOFON 2M Blue as standard, which is why I recommend it so often. I do consider the Fluence to be the better turntable, and if you upgrade the cartridge to the 2M Black, you can expect to experience a lot of the same performance I just got done talking about. That said, I am a little bit more of a direct drive fan, so if given the choice of having to pick one of these two turntables to live with, I'm picking the 140XP and simply upgrading the cartridge because the functionality and ease of use of the Audio-Technica is just too good for me to pass up. Compared to a fully loaded U-Turn Orbit Special, this one's a bit tougher. The U-Turn Orbit Special is designed to take a lot of the guesswork out of analog playback. Hell, it's designed to take all of the work out of analog playback. So if you have a minimal system or looking for a turntable that's more of a set it and forget it kind of a thing, then the U-Turn is likely going to be ideal for you. But if you're looking for a little bit more flexibility, better ease of use, meaning you don't have to necessarily fuss with belts to do speed changes, or you simply want to make updates to the cartridge that much easier, the Audio-Technica LP140XP is the better way to go. And for those of you wondering how the Audio-Technica compares against, say, the 1500C from Technics, which we've reviewed on this channel, straight out of the box or from the factory, the 1500C is the better turntable. But if you upgrade the Audio-Technica using the 2M Black, not only are these two turntables very evenly priced, I'm going to argue that the Audio-Technica is going to give you more functionality, not to mention better performance. Because if you remember, the 1500C ships with the 2M Red, and as I talked about in this review, that's not my favorite cartridge. So if I can have a turntable with the 2M Black for about 1500C money, I'm going with that option over having to upgrade the 1500C. And as for my favorite turntable of 2020, the Cambridge Audio Alva TT. Look, I know the Alva TT is not a purist turntable. It's the analog equivalent of a music streamer, and that's what I love about it. I love it so much that I've decided to get one, and as soon as one is in stock, it's coming home. Out of the box, the TT is obviously, it's better than the 140XP, wired and using Bluetooth. Now, if you upgrade the 140XP using the 2M Black, the two turntables are they're very comparable. But the Alva TT is the kind of turntable that I have been waiting for, and that is why I'm picking it over the Audio-Technica. So obviously the Audio-Technica is not built to the same standards, but it shares so much in common with some of the most iconic turntables ever made in the SL series from Technics. So if you're saving your money by buying the Audio-Technica and putting that money towards, say, a better cartridge, what you end up doing is elevating a budget turntable into a potential giant killer. It's true. It just is. And if you have strong opinions otherwise, go ahead and leave me a comment down below, because that is my review of the Audio-Technica LP140XP. What'd you guys think? First review of 2021, how'd we do? A little bit different? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, it wouldn't be a comment section without my question of the day. And that is, what do you think is the most important component in a turntable system? Cartridge, preamp, speakers, you name it. Tell me what you think is the most important down below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and be sure to ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Christy kindly gathered for you down below, know that that is a great way that you guys have been so awesome in showing your support for this channel and the work that we do here, and you have to know by now how much we thank you for doing that. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that is it. First review down, however many more to go. So remember, the only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. Thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, everybody. Here's to 2021, and we will see you on the next video. Bye. No, it's like those guys, the Californians from the Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, give me that.
You're sitting there thinking, well, Andrew, I don't have
just take the 401.
I don't have a G30 lying around. Know that the 2M Black differences are going to be heard on other components, like the musical fidelity M3SI or M5SI. Heck, you'll even hear them on the DH190 from Sony, obviously. When I say it's down to the speakers, know that there's just like a difference between the metas and clips, duh.